Okay, we're live. Here comes the intro. You're listening to the Grow Clinton podcast. Grow Clinton is a 501c6 nonprofit economic community development and tourism organization based in Clinton, Iowa. For more information, visit growclinton.com. Again, that's growclinton.com. Now, back to the show. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Grow Clinton podcast. That's right, folks. Recorded right here at the Grow Clinton offices in Clinton, Iowa, 721 South 2nd Street. You can find us online at growclinton.com. Again, growclinton.com. My name, as always, I haven't changed it, although I was on vacation last week. So this is episode 145 of the Grow Clinton podcast. And today we're talking with Dr. Charlie Minnick about a strategy for employee recognition. We partner with Dr. Minnick on a series called Leadership Unlocked that we host every month throughout the duration of the year 2025, right here in the Clinton, Iowa offices. Again, 721 South 2nd Street, located right underneath the South Bridge. Also available online for those that cannot attend physically. You can go to growclinton.com, click on the calendar, select the date, today's date, the 20th of August 2025, and register to attend, and then you will receive the MS Teams link. Before we get into our discussion, I want to thank Miles Communications. That's right, folks, hooking us up with wicked fast, high-speed internet. We love us some Miles Communications. Again, fast internet, also offering television and telephone services. MilesTelephone.com, MilesTelephone.com. If they're not in your neck of the woods, they are on their way. Charlie, thanks so much for joining us, sir, for another episode of the Grow Clinton podcast.
Hey, my pleasure. Always good to be here. Always good to talk leadership in your new enhanced studio. Gets better every time I come here. So
yeah, we always got some new bells
new
and
stuff.
whistles.
You got a new hat there.
Got a new
like
hat, yeah. AmVets Post 28.
Yeah.
We're very thankful
Awesome.
for them. And yeah, a few of our Funko Pops have been collecting here on the desk. But yeah, we love to have some fun. That's what this podcast is all about.
Absolutely.
So, Charlie, we've been doing this Leadership Unlocked thing since the turn of the year. January 1st was our January's time frame was our first episode, or first course. Everything's been focused on leadership, but this one we're having today at 2 o'clock in our office is focused on a strategy for employee recognition to create a vital and thriving workplace. What does that mean, Charlie?
Yeah, so I think sometimes people think employee recognition some touchy-feely sort of feel-good sort of thing, and really, I mean, I think it's a strategic driver of retention, engagement, performance. There's a theory that's called the mattering theory. So people need to know that they matter.
Yeah,
that
so
the
matter
work
like
the work they do matters.
M-A-T-T-E-R-I-N-G, mattering theory.
Mattering, yeah. The
Okay.
work they do matters, that them as human beings matter, that they have the attention of someone. I think that they are doing work and projects that fit into the big picture somehow. So I think it's people just need to know they matter. I think that's a fundamental human need, is that we matter to people. The work we do matters. That it's bringing favorable attention, all those type of things.
So beyond just a paycheck.
Yeah, it's beyond just a paycheck. And we'll talk a little bit. Herzberg talked a little bit about those hygienic and motivator sort of things. But yeah, I think it really gets to. And something, it's interesting, so Jim Chitwood, I've known him a long time.
And he's the gentleman that'll be presenting today.
Yeah, he'll be presenting, and next month he's going to talk about communication strategies.
Okay, very cool.
So that's next week. So we're fortunate to have him do two separate ones. So oddly enough, I've known him, 20 years. He hired me at Ashford when I became the Dean of Business and all those many years ago. And I say he asked me probably the most interesting questions I've been asked is, and it was, why shouldn't I hire you?
Why should I not hire you?
Why should I not hire you? And I'm like, well, that's a good question. So I must have answered okay because he hired me. But part of it is, I go, if you're looking for somebody who's going to not challenge the status quo, who's not going to ask questions, who's just going to mail it in on a day-to-day basis, then I'm not your guy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so then the very reason why he shouldn't hire you is why he should hire you.
Yeah.
So that was, yes, I've known him a long time, and we've
an
kept in
interesting
contact.
question.
Yeah, we've kept in contact over the years. So I think some of the things he'll talk about is kind of have a structured sort of approach to to recognition. And one thing that drives me crazy is if you ever go to restaurants or someplace and has like employee of the month,
Right.
and we're to like August and they haven't filled in June yet.
Yeah.
So one of two things happened: either everybody sucked,
Yeah.
or it doesn't matter. So you want to have a structured sort of thing that matters. It's like employee of the month. Yeah, well, you're 3 months behind, so you might as well just take it down because it has no value.
Yeah. Or if it's the same person over and
yeah,
over
if it's the
and over
same
again.
person over and over and over and over. Okay, we get it. Cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste.
Now, Charlie, one of the things that I've always been told about recognition, both in the military and in the civilian sector, was, there's people, it's important for you as a leader to engage your subordinates and find out how they want to be recognized. Because some people just do not want public recognition.
That's right.
They'd rather be praised in private.
Yeah. So I think, and that boils down to a thing that I'm sure Jim will talk about is getting to know your people. So I think if anything, when I've done some different classes, I beg people, if nothing else, get to know your people outside of name, rank, and serial number.
That's right.
What makes them tick? What matters to them? Because you want to do things that matter to people and has value to them. Yeah, some people don't like the public sort of, then it has the adverse effect. But if you know your people, what matters to them, it works. And I have to tell you, years and years ago in my Ambrose days, I taught a course. It was a leadership course, and this guy comes to class. He goes, "I got to tell you the coolest thing that happened." Well, I love to hear cool stories. So this will date me a bit, but the story is really cool. The concept is cool. So this guy worked in Cedar Rapids, and the CEO had an admin person, and it was like her birthday or admin day, something along those lines. So he wanted to do something special for her. So she wanted to go see Brooks and Dunn. So I hope people know who Brooks and Dunn are.
Country music
Yeah, I hope
stars,
so.
yeah.
I hope I'm not really dating myself that much. But so she wanted to go see Brooks and Dunn. So in those days, way back when, if you wanted the best tickets, you had to kind of go stand in line together.
Yeah.
That was, you didn't have Ticketmaster or any of that kind of stuff. So the CEO of this organization went and stood in line himself to get her tickets, the best tickets he could for Brooks and Dunn.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. You talk about recognition that matters, that's personal. He could have done it a lot of ways. He could have given her money. I mean, there's a lot of ways he could have did it. But he went and stood in line himself to get the tickets for her to show that he valued her, that she mattered. And so he did it himself. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. When you do engage a subordinate or partner, peer, whatever, about how they want to be recognized, whether it be in private or publicly, if they say privately, honor that request. Because I've worked for some leadership in the past where, they've engaged my peers, and my peers have said, "Oh, please, I don't like to be recognized publicly," and they continue to do it, causing them unnecessary anxiety and embarrassment, and ultimately they did not even appreciate the recognition because as the result of their physical impact at the time they had to stand in front of a group of people and provide an impromptu speech.
Yeah, so that's it. And it all boils down to those relationship things matter, I think. And you have to know what makes your people tick on a daily basis. And so I always beg people. So one thing I did way back when I moved out to the online center, we had 100 and some odd people. So one thing I want to do is get to know people. So I set up a 10-minute meeting with everybody one at a time just to get to know people. And they were like, first they were like, I don't know, what's this guy's up to?
Right.
What's his deal? So I'm like, there's no deal. I just want to get to know people. But it was just there was no agenda. Hey, tell me about yourself. What keeps you coming back? What excites those type of things. But once we got going, it took me a while, but yeah, let's just get to know people.
But isn't that crazy how when you make a simple request, like I want to get to know you beyond just you're an employee here and this is your duty title, people sometimes go on the defense like you're navigating, like you're mining for something to use against them.
Yeah, what are you going to use against me? What's this guy up? But once we got going, I go, there's no smoke and mirrors, there's no hook and ladder, there's nothing. But it's just get a chance to know people, I think is really matters. And I think the best recognition, you don't have to sell the farm to get recognition that matters. It's meaningful to people, and I think you have to get to know your people, because it can also be difference between people who've been here a long time or new folks. That recognition is, first of all, with with people who've been there a while, they're like, you know what can I do to help keep you involved, engaged, keep you challenged, because you've done the same thing a long, long time. What can I do to help you with that? Because you want to keep them, especially if they've done the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And but new folks, it's about, okay, well, how's it going? What can I do to support you? But that looks different for someone who's new to the job as opposed to someone who's been there for decades.
I mean, we've all heard the story of the golden watch. Those days are kind of over, where somebody rides out a employment opportunity for 20 to 30 years and retires from the same company. I mean, it's few and far between. Those individuals are dedicated, but the story goes is this, at the end of decades of service to the company, they give you a nice little watch, a handshake, and then you walk out the door. But you want people to feel like, because we spend more time in the office than we do with our families, so you want to make sure that they truly feel valued beyond just the fact that they're performing a job and earning a paycheck.
So years ago, I did a class. It was more of an HR employment class, and so the group was almost like a group of 20-somethings, and then a group of probably not so 20-something. So I broke them in half, and I asked them, I go, here's your question. What matters to you at work? I just let them go for a while.
Right.
And it came back. The oddest thing was both groups wanted the same thing, and it was respect.
Yep.
But it looks different if you're been here a while versus you're brand new. And, folks have been there. Here's what I've done to help grow the place and the culture and, those type of things. Whereas newer folks have new ideas and energy. So how do you blend those into something that's manageable and workable? And it was interesting. They wanted the same thing. It
is difficult because, I've been part of a workplace where you have individuals who've been there for a while. They're still doing a phenomenal job. They've written a strategy that they're following, and then you bring in fresh blood, and they're coming in trying to shake everything up and instill change immediately. And that's often tough to deal with, especially when it's perceived as like command and control and lack of respect because of the age gap.
Yeah, and we probably talk. I always ask people when we do stuff, if you were king or queen for the day, what can we do better as an organization to best support you so you can best support our customers, clients, those type of things. And people tell you lots of cool stuff. I mean, the best ideas generally aren't at the top. There's more people at the bottom, and there's people who are frontline people who interact with people. Here's what I'm hearing and seeing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But you have to give people an avenue to. That's the whole matter thing. Your opinion matters, and then do something with it. I mean, I think recognition can also be that people are heard. One of the challenges I've seen with we do these culture surveys or temperature checks, whatever you call them. You get all this information, they don't do anything with it. I mean, what does that communicate? That I really don't recognize what you told me. Well, then you know what? Quit asking me.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you have to every idea, but people, I think, just fundamentally need to know they were heard. They were heard. Not everybody. I don't think the reasonably prudent person thinks that everything that I think should happen is going to happen. But was I heard? Was I listened to? Was I considered? That's another form of recognition, I think, as opposed to, let people know, here's what you told us, here's what we're doing about it, here's some tangible results from that. Or eventually people will quit. You know what? It's a waste of my time because you don't care, because you don't do anything with it. So that's another form of recognition, I think, is that people knew they were heard and valued that way. So,
but I'll add to that a little bit. I think for the leader, it is often an additional stressor or causes some anxiety when you have subordinates or employees come to you with complaints but never offer a potential solution. Because, I found like in my position here at Grow Clinton and every other leadership position I've held, both in uniform and out of uniform, I've always valued when somebody comes to me with a concern, a legitimate concern, and also partners that concern with a potential solution. And I'm not asking them to solve the problem for me, but what I'm asking for is a starting point. Because often people in leadership roles, can't just stop everything they're doing and now all of a sudden come to a position where they're trying to develop a solution to a problem that was recently introduced to them. It takes a team effort to make these solutions stick.
Yeah, part of it could be what do you think we could do to make it better from your perspective? And they go, you know what, I might not know. So then you just keep having the conversation. You have to help them maybe think of solutions, okay? So if we think about, because really I think in organizations, what we see are really symptoms of a problem. They're not really the problem.
Right.
So we see this stuff. If you have disengaged employees, that's not really the problem. That's a symptom of the problem. So, this Kaizen stuff, you get into ask why about 4 or 5 times. Then you get to the root of the problem. And too often in organizations I've seen where you meet about the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Well, part of it is you never fix the problem. You try to fix the symptom of the problem. So it keeps festering.
Yeah.
So
I heard a quote the other day, a podcast I was listening to. They said communication is the birthplace of synergy. And I truly believe that. I mean, you have to be willing, even though if it's uncomfortable, to engage in conversation and at least plant that seed to allow that conversation discussion to develop and mature and eventually move towards a solution to a common problem. If you just bottle it up and you never reveal your opinions or your feelings, then it's just going to sit there and fester like a wound that's infected, and it's never going to change.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when you deal with conflict, that avoidance isn't always the best deal when it's something of great importance, because it'll just fester and people try to put it on the rug. And I think in those deals, it's about you have to manage the uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but if you delay on it, it's going to become more uncomfortable.
Right.
So how do you manage your uncomfortable this way? It's called like eat the frog, do the most uncomfortable thing in the first thing of the day and get it over with. But
time does not heal all wounds.
No, it does not. It makes it worse sometimes.
It does make it worse. So Charlie, what else can we expect today?
Yeah, I think he's going to talk about make sure you reward beyond top performers. I think we have some really good, consistent performers in our world. They're not these superstars, but they're good, they're consistent, they do their job, they do well, they play well with others. So you want to make sure you reward those people as well. Those real consistent performers. You have to be careful about what you reward or recognize, obviously, because if you reward extensively like poor performers and that, then it's like
poor, mediocre.
Yeah, that's gonna. But if you got good, consistent performers, that I think they, sometimes they're the backbone of the place. They get stuff done. They come in. They don't cause trouble. They do their job really efficient, effectively. Those sort of steadfast people, you want to make sure that you recognize as well. So. And I love, where we work, we have this culture of care sort of thing. And the cool part of it, it's peer nominated. So it's this way. It's not like just this leadership
Top
team.
down.
Yeah. They really have even the people who decide are like frontline sort of folks. They're not executive level people. So it's pretty cool where he gets peer nominated process. That can be really, really powerful as opposed to just from the top down. It's like the people I work with and interact with, that's where I've seen some of those really cool, consistent, hardworking performers get recognized. You know what? I can count on them. They're reliable. They're dependable. They get stuff done. I've seen a lot of those people recognized.
So, Charlie, what do you recommend to apply that scenario or that action to a small organization? Like, for instance, Grow Clinton. We're an organization of 7 people. If I exclude myself and Matt as kind of the executives, that leaves 5. I mean, can you still do peer recognition?
I think you can. I think in that way, you can be a sit around the table sort of thing. Just real personal, eyeball to. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds who are located all over the country. So I think it's pretty cool about you could just sit eyeball to eyeball. I appreciate you because this.
Right.
I appreciate because. So that can be really powerful, I think, in a smaller organization, is that when we don't have people are just everywhere. We don't necessarily have that. We bring people together for it, but that sort of eyeball to eyeball thing can be really powerful, I think, when people are sitting around the table. You know what? You did this, and I really appreciate it because of this.
Yeah. Again, we're talking to Dr. Charlie Minnick, helping us out here at Grow Clinton with the Leadership Unlocked series. The next installment happens today at 2 o'clock. I was on vacation, Charlie, so I wasn't able to conduct an interview in advance, but glad we got you on the air today.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, again, go to growclinton.com, click on the calendar, select today's date, the 20th of August, and then you can register online. You can either attend in person at 721 South 2nd Street, again today at 2 o'clock, or you can participate via Microsoft Teams. A link will be sent to you following registration. Now, Charlie, one of the questions I have is how often should leadership be conducting performance evaluations for their team? Now, we often hear like consistently. It doesn't have to be a formal thing. Just make sure you're touching base. There's some organizations that do it very strictly at once a year, an annual performance review, semi-annual. I mean, what works, what doesn't work? Because I know, like in the Air Force, we did it every twice a year. Mm-hmm. The system was very inflated. I mean, to give somebody less than a perfect evaluation, you had to have like a squadron commander's signature. So it was a broken system, and I'm just wondering what you've experienced in your professional career so far.
So I have one-on-ones with people, different. So right now I have about 9 or 10 people that report to me. So at least every month we have these one-on-ones, and I really look at those as
with every person that reports to you.
Yeah,
monthly. Okay.
Monthly. So I look at those as kind of mini performance reviews. Well, let's talk about, because we have kind of this statement of work, things that are people going to work on. So we go through that and let's talk about what went well, what didn't. And why, if it didn't go well, why didn't it go well? What could be changed? And it has to be really try to make it really developmental, not punitive.
Right.
I mean, at some point, if things keep, that's a different story. But I think you try to make it developmental. We talk about what are you most proud of in the past month? What thing did you think, that didn't quite go as well, and why? So I think it's ongoing. I mean, we do them. Like twice a year, I think, formal sort of performance reviews. But the worst thing that can happen is a performance review is a surprise. When you do that formal thing, that shame on you if that happens. So
yeah, no, I totally agree.
But I think we talk about it. What are you most proud of the past month, and why, and what thing might not have went so well, and why, and then it's always about, is there something I can do to help you with that? You always want to don't forget to feed people's strengths. That's why I ask what went well. Well, we need to make sure we continue to feed that. Our strengths can soon become opportunities if you don't feed them. So that's why I ask what went well, because I want to know what went well and why, and what do you, and I always tell people, you got to come with what can I do to help you and best support you? What's that look like? And it's really different for different people. New people are very different than even people who've been there a long time are different because they're different personalities and different work. And some people, I just let them do their thing and they're to help. Other you have to help, but it just depends. That's why you got to get to know your people. I mean, we try this cookie cutter approach and we wonder why it fails, because people are not cookie cutters. I mean, the best parts, everybody's different. Most challenging parts, everybody's different.
They all have different values, beliefs. I mean, it is truly a great thing that Grow Clinton is such a small team, because I feel like we do get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that I struggle with too is, we attach performance bonuses to our annual evaluations. And why I love the opportunity to do that from a financial standpoint, to honor that bonus for good performance, it does make it a little difficult, because one of the things I've realized in our career in this industry is there's so many outside factors that influence our ability to meet metrics and certain like KPIs and things of that nature. So we can't just look at performance. Did you do 50? Yeah. If I want you to do 50 of this, did you do 50 of that? If you do 48, you don't get your bonus. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gray area there. What do you experience with the bonus structures?
Yeah, merit paying, that's tricky business. Yeah. What get measured? How do you measure it? Those type of things. So I think, most bonuses I've seen sometimes are like, if you hit this, you get a certain percentage. You hit this. So it's kind of a quartile, sort of like you hit this or this. It's not an all or nothing sort of thing. But bonus, if it's tied to reviews, that's a little,
it is tough.
It can be a little tricky, because then, well, that's not fair. you didn't evaluate me well, or you didn't do this, or it's just tricky. I think it has to be. That's why a lot of them I've seen are really kind of quantitative in a way.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're tied to organizational performance and profit and all that kind of stuff.
When you're selling widgets, that makes sense. If you're in a sales role and your goal is to meet this amount of quantity as far as sales, that makes sense. That's a defined metric. Yeah. But for us in economic and community development and tourism, there's just so much wiggle room there, and it's a little loosey-goosey, too much for my liking. And that's why, my board luckily has empowered me as the president and CEO to determine bonus payouts based on my impression of how that individual performed over the course of the fiscal year. And I'm glad they allow me to do that, because I also take into consideration outside factors like economic conditions at the national level. You can't say like we had Atlas Roofing Corporation come into our community. That was a huge win for us. That was a huge feather in our cap from an economic development standpoint. Are we going to recruit an Atlas Roofing Corporation every single year? The answer is no, because it's just there's so much involved in that process. It's not a simple exchange of money for a widget. You give me this, I give you that. I mean, there's personalities, there's economic conditions, there's cost benefits analysis, there's cost of land, there's utility availability. I mean, all of these things. So I've always been trying to, we're only 3 years into this merger and the creation of Grow Clinton, but I've been always trying to figure out what's best from a performance standpoint in order to address the bonus and ensure people are getting compensated fairly.
Yeah, and I think people can be part of that process is always good too. What do you think should be part of, it becomes a collaborative sort of thing. Then there's a little more buy-in perhaps because they had input into it, especially if it's brand new. I mean, you have to continually then evaluate it. Did it work? Why? What are we missing? What should we review? But I think it's good if people have input into, and that everybody agrees this is what it is. So you don't change. It's hard to change the rules midstream.
It is.
But that can be a little more. That's not fair. That's not what we agreed on. So, but I think it's an ongoing. It's like any strategic plan. It has to be a living document, I think. And you're right. Conditions change, and like you said, this year might be higher because an Atlas Roofing came in. Well, you're right. You're not always going to have an Atlas Roofing come knocking at your door. So how does it fluctuate? How does it, is it nimble? I mean, if you're going to change midstream, it has to be agreed to by everybody because, look at COVID. That turned our world on its ear.
Yeah.
So is there a way to evaluate that? So I think especially can be a collaborative sort of work together process. And are you measuring what should be measured? Are you bonusing what should be bonused? Is it part of their regular job, or is a bonus some exemplary performance in something?
Yeah.
How does that work?
We think about that too in terms of our membership. We always provide our members a return on their investment, and that many of which is tangible, right? A ribbon cutting, a spotlight video, the promotion on social media, articles in the paper, referrals. That's all tangible. That's something you can put your hand on and say, yes, we provided X number of referrals for you this year, and as a result, you earn X number of dollars in new business. Things that aren't necessarily tangible is the work that happens that they often don't see, and that's the engagement with outside agencies, the growth of the community through quality of life type scenarios that bring more people here, housing, things of that nature that ultimately lead to a stronger economy and the injection of new wealth into our region. So I'm always trying to figure out the correct wording to use to demonstrate that as a return on investment as opposed to just something physical you can touch.
Yeah, that qualitative stuff's a little more harder to quantify.
Yeah.
But way you do it. But is there a way to do it? I mean, I think there is. I think as long as it's a collaborative sort of effort and it supports the mission of what you're doing, it has to be mission driven. And does it stretch people a little? I think stretch goals are good because what it does, I think, is allows people to come up with kind of innovative, creative solutions to complex problems. That's what stretch. I think that's what they're there to do is stretch and think about this and think about this, so we can tackle these complex problems that are going to help
us. That's really the only way to grow as a company, as an organization, is to flex yourself beyond your comfort zone, try new things, see what works, be welcome failure because it's inevitable. Not everything's going to be a home run. Chuck stuff up against the wall, see what sticks, and then focus on those things that do stick and continue to grow them and make them better.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, I want to thank you so much for being
Always
on
a
the
pleasure.
show.
Always a pleasure.
Again, today, the 20th of August, 2 o'clock Central, we'll be hosting another installment of Leadership Unlocked, where we will focus on developing a recognition strategy to support the growth and the vibrancy of your workplace and make sure you can retain those high performers.
That's it.
Charlie, thank you so much again
Always
for
a
being on
pleasure.
the show. Everybody, thank you for listening, and thank you to Miles Communications for sponsoring this episode of the Grow Clinton Podcast and all episodes of the Grow Clinton Podcast. They hook us up with high-speed fiber internet. They can do the same for you. MilesTelephone.com. Again, MilesTelephone.com. My name, Andy Sokolovich, President and CEO of Grow Clinton. Until next time, folks, stay classy. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Grow Clinton podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on all your socials. Until next time, see ya.